This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome to another episode of Business by the Numbers. I'm your host, Hunt Emrys, CPA with Parmelis & Associates. If you've been watching the news for the last 2 to 3 weeks, you might be thinking to yourself, like a lot of other people, what the heck is a tariff? For most people in the world, they are all too familiar with the terms tariffs, but Americans and us in the USA, not so much until recently. What is a tariff, what they're trying to do with these tariffs, and how is all of this going to affect your shop is what we're going to talk about this week. Before we get into that, I just want to stop and say thank you to you and the rest of the dedicated listeners. Remember, if you want to hear your question answered on here, just have a question for me, shoot me an email at podcast@parmelis.com. Also, want to talk to me about accounting and tax for your repair shop? Shoot me a text at 301-307-5413. And lastly, but surely not leastly, we cannot forget our dedicated sponsors, NAPA Trax and Promotive, for being such loyal supporters of the show. Want to check out what Trax can do for you? Give them a call. You got to hire that next technician, service advisor, admin, bookkeeper, whatever you need for your shop. Promotive can help you out, so give them a call. Hey, did you know that NAPA Trax is on-site training plus 6 days a week support? It all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Let us prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. Visit them online at napatrax.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. It's time to hire a superstar for your business. What a grind you have in front of you. Great news, you don't have to go at it alone. Introducing Promotive, a full-service staffing solution for your shop. Let them do the heavy lifting and enlist your hiring partner online at gopromotive.com. I want to walk you guys through a story here that I think will explain a lot about this episode. But let's just say that Hunt's Auto Repair is based in the town that I am, Mount Airy, Maryland, and I have a competing shop in a town maybe a couple miles away, but different rules, different government, etc., etc. They're close enough that this shop and I have always been competing over the years to a certain extent, but there's plenty of cars for the work to go around. Over the years, the prices, service, what we can do are very, very similar. But over the last couple of years, we started noticing some of the jobs that this shop is selling is a lot cheaper than what you ever sell this stuff for. I make good money in this shop, but it's not like I have a ton of profit where, I have a bunch that I'm really gouging my customers on. I think that this shop can probably not do this for much longer. They're really undercutting my brake prices on this, but hey, we are all buying this from the same stuff. We all have similar costs of operations. They're just trying to get my market share, and it's just not going to work as long as I can hold on. Then I start to realize a little bit more. I do some more digging. Maybe I lose a couple technicians to them. Maybe I lose some customers, and I start to get some more information about who my competitor is. And one of the things that quickly goes out the window is, we are both selling the exact same product, service, part. But how we do that and what we're allowed to do in order to create that work is drastically different. When I go over there, I realize that they don't have virtually any labor standards. None of their lifts have any sort of safety stops on them. There is not the kind of technology and safety that we're used to seeing in the last 30, 40, 50 years. They're truly doing auto repair like you might have seen in the States maybe in the 50s. As far as labor standards, there are none. Anyone of any age, shape, size is allowed to work in this shop, and clearly they are. Because of that, they are able to find a lot cheaper help than I was ever able to. Also, because of their lack of safety standards, they don't have to do some of the things that my team has to do, allowing them to be quicker, more productive, all while being much more dangerous. One of the biggest costs that my shop had currently been experiencing and I had to transfer on to customers was a lot of the environmental costs due to the nature of our industry. So disposing of tires, disposing of waste oil, and all of the things alike all have a cost, all increase my cost of doing business, and in turn increase the cost to my customers. I was very shocked to see when I drove over to this competing shop that they were having a fire in the back of their shop to burn off all of their used tires, the ones that they weren't installing on customers' vehicles. And when I take a look at them doing a oil change on it, I noticed that they were just allowing all the oil and the antifreeze to drain down into the floor drains. All in all, what I was able to gather on this is this shop is able to operate at cost 40% lower than mine and arguably much higher productivity because they don't have some of the safeguards that I have in place. Now, again, does that allow them to have a safer business? No. Does that allow them to have a business that creates a culture that is healthier for their team members? Absolutely not. But if you want to look at it from a number standpoint, it allows them to operate at a cost 40% lower than mine, which makes it easier to beat me on price every single time. If their costs are 40% lower, they could still charge 20% less than what I'm charging and make 20% more. Do you think that this is right, that this shop is able to operate as such? Free market capitalism. And if you don't like doing the work in the town, then move to the other town. If this does happen, let's go down that path. If you're on the path of, hey, this is free market, let the customers decide. If you start messing with this supply and demand curve, if you start putting outside influences, all you're doing is artificially generally raising prices here. But let's go down through this. Let's see what this looks like for these towns if we allow free market to take over. This happens now, and in 5 to 10 years, the town would no longer have any shops in this. Where I currently operate my shop would quickly no longer have shops, and they would move to the town over where they could do the same thing, provide the same exact thing to the customers, and do it in a much more profitable way if they were to keep their prices the same. But if you were to look at a repair shop that had the opportunity to move 10 miles away, keep all of their customers, have a 40% reduction in cost, I don't think that you would have a shop owner that would feel differently on it. Why would this be bad? Some of you guys can obviously see that in itself is probably the downside to this. We no longer have any auto repair in my town. Because of the rules, because of the regulations, because, they're going to be environmental freaks, they no longer let me pour antifreeze down my drains on this. It's made it cost prohibitive in order to try and have an auto repair shop in my town. Any of my local citizens, when they have an issue with it, they have to drive out of town to do this. One of the bigger things on here that we're not thinking about is where our money goes. If we have a business in our own town, our customers are able to spend their money, but then this money stays in the local economy. So my customer comes in, pays for a brake service. I use that money. I turn around, go to my local hardware store, my local restaurant, whatever it might be, to give them my money. All this money stays in the community. If we no longer have an auto repair shop in our community, then we know any money spent on auto repair is something that's going to be an outflow. We're going to lose that money. It's going to have to go to another town. Now, if we think that the standards in place for this current town are not conducive to auto repair, do you think that that would mean that this town would be conducive for a lot of other blue collar and trades businesses? Probably not. Not only are we seeing auto repair leave, we could see plumbing, electrician, welding. Maybe all this stuff starts leaving and goes to these competing towns. Not only are the jobs leaving here, not only is the money leaving here, but it's going to be very, very hard to bring this stuff back. Hunt, why would this be hard to bring the businesses back? Do something about this, fix this trade imbalance, fix this price issue on it, and the jobs will return. After a while, if there is no auto repair shops in my town, and there has not been for the last decade, do you think that there's going to be a qualified stream of technicians to work in the auto repair shop that I just opened up? Do you think that there is going to be a stigma attached to going back to an auto repair shop when these people have, deemed something else a proper career choice for them, they're going to go down this road? And realistically, let's look at your auto repair shop right now. How hard is it to find people? And this is, arguably a very good career right now and still very, very strong in most local areas. What do you think this looks like if some of those jobs start leaving? Not only would the jobs not be there, physically the people might not be there to be able to take the jobs, even if you try to send this back. To those of you that say free market, let it play out as it should, only the strong will survive, you will probably not be in favor of tariffs, and you probably are currently not in favor of tariffs. For those of you who say that isn't fair, that something needs to happen and someone needs to get involved in here so that this town doesn't lose its jobs and this town doesn't lose its cash. Whether you know it or not, you are in favor of tariffs because this example is pretty much what we have going on with the tariff situation currently. This is a very simplified example for a shop and also a bit different because we have labor on here, but this is a very similar idea. Somewhere has lower cost because of some advantage that another party deems as a unnecessary advantage, and tariffs are used to more or less level a playing field. Tricky part about this is that depending on which person you are in this equation, you could be getting positively and negatively influenced on this. Depending on where you are in this, you could be the first response of this of, hey, I lost my job, I cannot work, Or maybe the third kind of level to this of, hey, that factory shut down, that left, they weren't able to buy this service, so they never came to my restaurant. There are so many things at play here, and this is why the situation gets more complicated by the day. If you want to take a look at the history of tariffs, duties, and the like on this, you will see that we've had a long-standing history of tariffs before this came on the news. There is still a lot of industries, a lot of sectors that have massive tariffs on it. There's also stuff where they have complete import bans and export bans on some stuff. If you thought that this declaration and what we've seen in the last month was the end of free trade, we haven't seen free trade arguably for probably 50 to 60 years. That part about this was a little bit sensationalized. We have never seen this before. We're going from 0% tariffs to now this. It's just not true. And for our recent memory, this is a very big shock. If you were born after the year, let's call it 1950, we have pretty much seen a very, very similar landscape on how the United States collected its money. When we talked about national debt, tariffs were not even really factored into this stuff because they don't make up a large amount of our revenue, but still in the grand sense of it, probably hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions of dollars. But in order to understand of where we got here, we have to go back a little bit in time because there was a point in time where we operated 100% off of tariffs and duties. Fun fact for you guys, but you might have think that the income tax and payroll tax has been around forever, but there actually could be someone listening to this that was alive in a time where there was no income tax or any payroll tax. Income tax and payroll tax really came after the First World War. A lot of this stuff got magnified. We had the Great Depression there 10, 15 years later. But again, at that point, pre-World War II and between World War I and World War II, about 50% of our inflows of money came from the newly created income tax system, but the other 50% of this still came from tariffs and duties. Anything before 1914 all came from tariffs, all came from duties. You want to import in coal? Great, we're going to get a cut of that. You want to import in wheat? Great, we're going to get a cut of this. But the average American did not actually pay any income tax. It was after the Second World War that we saw payroll taxes come in, even though they weren't really a large moneymaker. The payroll taxes were really redone in the 50s and 60s on it, and currently today make up about a third of our overall tax revenue. If we want to look at the turn of the 1900s, where we have 100% tariffs to current market today, we have around 5 to 10% of our revenue coming from duties and tariffs before any of these increases, around another 30% coming from payroll taxes, and the remainder from income taxes. More or less, the rest of the world and how they did business with America has been largely unchanged since the Second World War. Europe, definitely on this. Africa, to the most part. Central America, sorta. And China, probably not at all. China has a long-standing history, United States, dating back hundreds of years. But in recent memory, they're probably our biggest trade partner. They're one of our biggest buyers of our exports on it. And the United States, what I'm aware of, is the largest importer of Chinese goods. Whether we like it or not, our economies are so intertwined here. And even specifically, if you look at the automotive space, where are most of your parts manufactured? Then let's be real on the ones that are manufactured. For those made in America parts that we see on there, how much of those components are actually made overseas? The globalization of trade has allowed many, many advances that you would never see without globalization. And also, as far as pricing and competitive nature of this, to be able to have, within reason, a part from the other side of the world to your doorstep in a week has really changed the way that we've had the current landscape and is the reason why we have the economy that we do today. NAPA Tracks was built from the ground up to make your business more profitable and efficient. They provide an extensive set of tools to increase and track profitability in real time. NAPA Tracks offers the industry's best wholesale support, hands down. They train your people on site. Yes, on site. They also offer remote refresher training 10 times a week, and customer support is open 6 days a week. Give them a call, visit them, or join our Facebook community today to learn more. They'll prove to you that Tracks is the single best shop management system in the business. NAPA Tracks is always customized and tailored for your business, whether you're a one-man shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Visit us on the web at napatracks.com. That's NAPATRACS.com. Is your recruitment process draining your valuable time and resources? What if there was a partner who could take your recruitment efforts off your plate? Look no further. Promotive is your ultimate solution for hassle-free staffing focused solely on the automotive industry. On the web at gopromotive.com. Promotive understands the challenges you face when searching for the perfect technician or service advisor for your shop. That's why we've developed a platform that takes the hassle out of recruiting. Michelle Tanzi from Euroclinic said, "I am a shop owner and recruiting new talent is so time-consuming. Promotive does the majority of the seeking and recruiting. They reach out to the candidates for you, and when they feel they are a good match for you and culture, they make the connection. They follow up throughout the interview process, and we make sure that the candidates are a good fit and the shop is a good fit for the candidates. I admire that they genuinely want both parties to win. They recruited and paired us with a solid B-Tech and Master Tech. Both left a dealership position and are still part of our team. We are very happy with the character and culture match, and both technicians have become valuable team members." Visit our website at gopromotive.com today and join the growing community of shop owners who have found their ideal team members with Promotive. Some of this importing and duties and things like that has always been around. One of the personal examples that I've seen this is if you have items that have MAP pricing, manufacturer accepted price. I don't know what it stands for, but it pretty much means that a company wants you to sell this product in this market for this amount of money. And for whatever reason, like car parts are one that I've seen this before. Let's say that there is a race harness that is sold in America. That race harness is going to be sold for $500, but it's made in Italy. And so if you go and you look online, you can buy that same one in Italy, probably with a actual FIA certification on it. And you're probably going to get that for $300. This is firsthand experience. I've seen this. Great. Hunt thinks that he's outsmarted the world on this. He ends up paying $350 on it, maybe $375. Takes forever. I think I bought it from Poland, so it shipped in here, and I saw it waiting at customs, got the parts, great. Then I got a notification that I had a FedEx from the United States Custom. What is this? Well, now I have to pay a duty on this. I imported car parts from another country on this, and they have to declare what they sent me, and now I owe them a bill. Long story short, after paying the duty, I ended up saving zero money. The reason I bring this up is that is a prime example of what this is supposed to do. If everyone in America knew that they could buy the same car parts in Europe for cheaper, no one would buy a single thing from an American reseller of car parts. You would buy them all from Poland. But after all said and done, yeah, you can get it for cheaper. Shipping's going to be more. And then by the time the duty comes in, it's very similar. Between you and I, they don't always get you on the duties. I've had plenty of stuff not get charged on this. I don't know how that stuff works on it, but firsthand experience, this is not a brand new thing. This has been around. This has been around for hundreds of years. In the specific case with China, massively. We don't see a lot of the Chinese vehicles. There's either massive tariffs on it, which make it cost prohibitive to bring it in. There's also a specific law. It's the reason why we can't have some of these not safety-approved vehicles. It's the reason why we can't have that $10,000 Toyota truck. There's a lot of things that the United States does in the automotive space, generally on the guise of safety. But like anything that we've seen on this, they probably care a lot less about safety and more about these kind of economic issues. Why the heck would you ever buy a Ford Taurus for $30,000 if you could buy this imported Chinese similar sedan for $8,000? Same idea, lose the jobs, money goes overseas, yada, yada, yada. If we factor in the rest of the world, we don't really see it that much. And as of the time of recording this episode, most of these tariffs that were supposed to be levied on just about every country in the world had been paused other than China. Was that going to be the case? Is that going to change again? I mean, this has changed 3 to 4 times just by trying to write this notes for this episode over the last couple of days. So I'm sure it is. I do not think this is going to be the end of it. And I don't think that there's a single person that would agree that this is going to be the end of it. What the future looks like, who ends up paying these tariffs, who doesn't, your guess is as good as mine. Why are they doing this? And I want to be a little bit careful here because the purpose of this episode is to educate you guys. It doesn't matter what my opinion is on this and whether I'm for it or against it. It's going to make no difference on what they do. But what I want to do here is give you, again, this is my opinion, but I'll give you the context of it. And you can see if you agree with this or not. why are we doing this? The most classic example of this and the most classic argument that you have on tariffs is like the domestic manufacturing and the jobs. Politicians love jobs. We created jobs. Well, who cares that we funded that 100% and we're just paying people to work? There has been history of that actually working. But the whole idea is if you look at the fall of the middle class, of what a lot of people say is, well, in the 60s, 70s, when, middle class was really at its peak in America, there was a lot of domestic production. There's a lot of domestic blue-collar jobs. Look at your own city. Look at Baltimore City. We used to have a large amount of chemical plants here. Those are all overseas. Bethlehem Steel, Domino Sugar, all of these are shut down and went overseas. Why? There's a lot of reasons on this, but it is much, much more expensive to manufacture chemicals in Baltimore, Maryland than it is Guangzhou, China, right? I have never been to there, but right, there has to be a reason why all of this is over there. Another thing on this, and largely the more important aspect of this, is a trade imbalance. Some of this just has to do with protecting our jobs. Some of this just has to do with protecting our own money. Think about something like iPhones. iPhones are a great example because I think just about everyone is made in China. Some of them are probably made in Cambodia, India, but none of them are made here. If every single person in America bought an iPhone, which it seems like most everyone does, that means that every single America is sending $800 to $1,000 to China. How much nicer would that be if that factory was here and we could be paying our own citizens, creating jobs, creating profits, and then, reinvesting in other businesses? And this is what's going on right now. If there are certain goods that we know people are going to buy no matter what, then we need to try and get that here so that we can try to keep our money in our own borders. The other reason on this would be the argument of national security. If there is something, if we go into a war, if there is another, pandemic like we've seen and it's not able to ship stuff, it's worrisome to know that most of our pharmaceuticals, a lot of our PPE stuff is all made overseas, and we do not control our own destiny. If they do want to shut this down and stop sending us some of this stuff, and we don't have the capabilities to start making it ourselves, America is in a really weird spot. And during COVID, there was a couple of those examples. All of this stuff seems like it could be a good idea. You know what? I think it'd be a good idea to keep the jobs here, to keep the jobs local. Hey, I would rather see money stay with my own fellow citizens than sent the rest around the world. And also, hey, what I think that, our penicillin, whatever, our essential medicine and PPE stuff should be made here, in theory. In practice, though, this is a much, much deeper issue, which is why we're seeing this right now. In practice, does this mean that we are going to have decrease in prices? Absolutely not. You just are guaranteeing that anything coming from China currently right now is 100% more expensive than it was a week ago. Explain to me how that can make any sort of prices fall in the short term. And really what we're looking at here is short-term pain and hopefully long-term gain. Will they have, enough gall to run this that long? I'm not sure, but in the short term, I do not think that we could see any positive effects from this from a consumer perspective. We are currently one of the biggest issues facing our economy right now is inflation. A little bit confusing of why you would choose to do this right now when it is one of the few things guaranteed to increase prices. Now, in the long run, when some of these shocks go out, will it level out? Hey, who knows? But if you have, again, 100% tariff on all Chinese imports, I don't see how that can do anything but to raise short-term prices for just about everyone in America. If you're one of the 3 American citizens that does not buy anything from China, you might be okay because as of right now, it seems like those are the only increases. But for the rest of your 350 million citizens, this is going to be a big shift. Whether you know it or not, our economy really, really relies heavily on China, and China knows that as well too. And what I think that we are having here is just a big old argument. If you look at what taxes are generally made to do, taxes are made to do 2 different things. Taxes officially are a way that the government collects revenue so that you can provide it to other citizens, services, do God knows what with it. In a larger sense, though, taxes are really a way that you control your population. And not in a nefarious way. Sure, you could do it if you wanted to, but let's say that you want your citizens to go out and get solar. Then you would give an incentive on their taxes. If you go out and you buy a solar panel, we'll give you a credit. You can now change your tax code and it's going to change your people's behavior. You have a lot of leverage on your citizens because you control the tax law and a number of other things. Now, the rest of the world, If I have a country that I want to buy my wheat, I can go to them and say, hey, you guys should really buy our wheat. And they go, no, USA, why would we buy your wheat? It's not even that good and it's more expensive than what we have here. If you go back to them and say, hey, we really want to try to fix these trade imbalances with some of these countries, we are going to do a blanket 10% tariff on all of you guys until further notice. We have a bargaining chip. If we are charging a country 0% tariff on them, what leverage do we have? Well, we're going to increase your tariff. We're going to decrease your tariff. Well, you guys don't do anything on it, so we're going to keep on doing what we've been doing. The whole reason that I think that this was done was a very, very big play for leverage, and for most of the countries it worked. If you looked at the press release on there, they said that after this came, 50 to 70 of the countries named immediately called and negotiated. Whether they're going to start buying stuff from us, whether they're going to start lowering the tariffs that they're charging in the United States, any number of things. This stuff worked extremely, extremely quickly. Is this going to be a bad thing for shops? Is this going to stay like what we're seeing right now for China? I do not think so. If we have a 100% increase on all imports from China, the effects of this would be massive, 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 massive. And even if you look at some of this stuff, a lot of this stuff is being held in ports, and none of this stuff is even getting paid yet because they're hoping to get this figured out. I don't know. Every time that I've said in the past, I don't think that they're going to do these tariffs. I don't think this is going to happen. They've came and done it. We'll really have to see on this because the Chinese tariffs are probably the largest impact of this space. Look at your parts like we were talking about before. What would happen if you had 100% increases in all of your parts cost? Pretty crazy. We're going to see some shortages. Audi already says, hey, we're not bringing anything through the port until this stuff gets figured out. And just like during COVID, if you actually have shortages on parts and if you actually have some price increases, they're going to try to gouge you even more. You know, if the container went up 15%, why am I paying 40% more for parts? This is just how this stuff works. Is that overall a bad thing for shops, though? If your parts costs are going up? Not really. Not at all, actually, if you're able to still sell the same amount of work. If you have a brake rotor that costs $100 and you mark it up 50%, you're going to sell it for $200. You're going to have 50% gross profit on that. If that same brake rotor now costs you $200, not $100, and you have the same markup, I'm now going to sell that rotor for $400. So instead of making $200 in the past, I was only making $100. Even though my customer is now paying $200 more, I'm going to make $100 more because my vendor's going to get $100 more and I'm going to get the other $100 in profits. If you look at the tariff situation, it could be something where you still have a net increase. Realistically, if you look at the model of what happens when tariffs are implemented on this, is you will not see that increase in profit because due to the fact of the increase in price, you'd probably get a lower close ratio, less people saying yes on this. Maybe you're making more money, but doing less of those jobs because people can't afford it. Realistically, I think that if we see parts prices double, I don't think that everyone would probably leave their percentages the same. And what I mean by that is this. If we have a brake job that now cost us $800, are we really going to sell that job for $1,600 in the future? I don't know. I mean, there could be a large argument of like, my cost is what my cost is. My costs have went up a lot and I'm still marking it up the same. But I think that you would have enough people in the market of say, yeah, my percentage is the same, but my dollars and cents are still way ahead on this. So I'm going to actually go from a 50% margin to a 45%. That's where the percentage of dollars get caught up on you. I hope that we don't see that stuff. If we start seeing these kind of increases, coupled with the increases that we've already seen over the last 5 years, we take a really, really tough economy and we put it into pretty much a stranglehold. Is this the start of a recession? Is this the start of much more? I don't know. But hopefully this kind of taught you a couple things. And if nothing else, maybe give you a little bit of insight into how we got into this position. All in all, it's very hard to say what the future holds. In the span of about a week that I've been working on this episode, I've had to change this stuff 5 different times. By the time you hear this, who knows? Maybe we'll be 100% open, free trade, tariffs are gone. Maybe we'll be worse off than we are now and we are completely closed off to the world. At this point, your guess is as good as mine. Please share with friends if you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes. Shoot me an email at podcast@powermelis.com. Want to talk to me about accounting and tax services for your shop? Text me at 301-307-5413. Just want to say thanks for listening on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Don't forget to check out the rest of the shows on aftermarketradionetwork.com, on your favorite podcast listening apps. Check out Craig and Speak Up, Matt diagnosing the aftermarket and everything else, Chris and his weekly blitz, and the Walkers with everything marketing. So thanks again for joining me on Business by the Numbers. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you all next week.
You've been listening to Business by the Numbers with Hunt Demarest on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Hunt on your favorite podcast listening app. Let him know what you'd like him to cover. His email is in the show notes. Hunt is all for advancing the aftermarket.